Hello, my friends, and welcome to episode 153 of the Kiss Army Nation podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Pasquale Veri.
And I am Claudio Spera. Welcome to the show, everyone. Our guest tonight is a huge Kiss fan with whom we had the chance to share awesome memories during the last part of the End of the Road tour in North America last year. Born in Sweden back in 1977, Alex has become one of the very well-known Kiss fans around the world due to sharing his passion through an incredible number of exhibitions that he's hosting and some incredible stories with other fans and members of the band. Kiss Army, we welcome to the show our dear friend and longtime Kiss fan, Alexander Johansson. Welcome to the show, Alex.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. You know, it's a Kiss song. Welcome to the show. Thanks for having me. It's great, to talk about Kiss. Why not? I have a lot of memories and stories to share with you, and I would love to do it. It's actually, I've been in some podcasts before, but this is actually the first one over in North America. No, but it's always a little tricky with the time difference and everything. So now it's actually early afternoon here in Sweden, and it's the early morning in Canada where you are. So
there you go.
Yeah. It's 8 o'clock in the morning here. I'm popped up on coffee, man. So we're ready to go.
That's great. That's great.
So, Alex, listen, I got to tell you, one of the many things I love about this podcast is getting to know people on a deeper level. I mean, we met when you came to Canada, and we met up again in New York. And how many people can say, I met somebody through my passion, became good friends? We meet people from around the world and become good friends. Not many people can say that. Kiss fans can say that.
No, but that's something that I have to remind me about, that I take for granted, actually, because when I talk to people around me, like people at my job or everyone else, I never think about that I know people all over the world. Most people don't. Because they're in their bubble, everyday life bubble, and then maybe they don't know that many people. I know people everywhere, I know like 5 people in Australia, 5 people in Canada, 5 people in Japan. I know people everywhere. But you're in that kind of bubble, so you don't think about it.
Exactly.
Yeah. But the only thing is that when we meet up, we talk on a superficial level because there's so much going on around us. So, having guests like you on the podcast, we get to know you and the listeners on such a deep level. And that's what's fantastic about this show and having you on the show, my friend. So again, welcome to Canada. We're gonna have a good morning, a good afternoon in your case. So let's start from the beginning. So where did it start for you? How did you become aware of Kiss?
I became aware of Kiss around the Animalized era, because Kiss was, the Animalized album, and especially Heavens on Fire, was a huge hit in Sweden in '84. So I got the album in the fall of '84. I got the Animalized album, but I'm not sure if I was really aware of that was like a brand new album. I think it was just a cool rock album, and I got it, And I remember there was a friend's older brother who was also into Kiss. Because I'm the big brother. I have a little sister, so I'm the big brother in the family. So I didn't have any older siblings that got me into Kiss. But I remember I had a friend who had an older brother, and he was a Kiss fan. And I got the Animalized album and thought it was great. But it was really strange for me, because at the same time as I liked the Animalized album, I saw old pictures of Kiss in makeup. And as a 7-8-year-old, I didn't really, how is this possible? I almost thought they were 2 different bands, because there you have like the old band with makeup, and there's the demon with blood and everything. And then you have like the Animalized guy standing there without makeup. So that was a little confusing in the beginning, that mix of the old stuff and the new stuff. But that was really the opening thing for me, was the Animalized. And Animalized was also a very popular album in Sweden, because it sold gold at the time. So gold back then was 50,000 records. So they sold 50,000 records in Sweden. That was a lot back then, to sell 50,000 copies of an album. So so that was the start. And then the year after, in 1985, I got the Destroyer album. And then my Kiss, mania got into total new level, when I got the Destroyer album cover, and I was laying on the floor at my mom and dad had a record player, and I played it there, and I was laying on the floor. I think I even had, I listened with this on, and I listened to the album, laying on the floor, watching the album cover, and just dreamed, into this Kiss world that was, coming to me, because they were like jumping out on the album cover, and I was totally hooked to Kiss when I listened to that. That was like, I'm home. This is my world. But the funny thing is actually that I think I actually became a fan of the band. Actually, I think I actually saw some picture of the band before I listened to the band, to be honest. Now I'm thinking about it.
Okay.
So I went from, like, because I was a big Spider-Man fan back then. I had a Spider-Man comic book and stuff like that. And when I saw an old picture of the band, I fell in love with the band without hearing anything of them, because I just thought that it looked cool, And then I listened to the music, and then all the things fell apart, and it came to me and it said, this is my band. This is I'm home. Yeah.
When most fans discover a band, it's usually about the music. As Kiss fans, we're lucky because it's about the look, and we have a reaction with that, and then the music.
Yeah.
So I want to hear about the music in your case. So what was your reaction when you first played Kiss Unmasked, and then when you, the Unmasked era, and then when you played Kiss from the early 70s? What was that like?
It was a huge difference. I remember that, because still to this day, I remember actually the first time I put on the Animalize album, that was I Had Enough Into the Fire. And that was, to this day, I love that song. It's an amazing song. And I remember putting it on, and I listened to it, and that was amazing. And there was some other cool things. But the 70s stuff was so different from the 80s stuff. So it was, it was larger than life. It was like a larger than life experience. If we talk about Destroyer again here, you got Detroit Rock City with the car in the beginning, and everything, and explosions in the end, and then you have, and also a lot of different stuff. And we think about Great Expectations, with the child choir and everything, and you have like songs like Beth, which was very different from the other things on that album. And God of Thunder, of course, with the kids screaming and things. So there was like, it was like a brand new world that came to me, and it was.
Alex, so you said basically that you got exposed to the band in the early 80s, which we were kind of was the beginning of the glam rock era, at least here in North America and in Europe too. And but you also said that you kind of you were aware of the previous years of the band and the different lineup, with Ace and Peter, and maybe with Eric Carey makeup and all of that. So what is it that captivated you the most? Was it the image, or was the music? You just went through your experience of what happened with you when you listened to Destroyer, your second album. But what happened with the image? So you were into comics, as you said before. So was it more the music or the image?
Yeah, in the beginning, I think it was the image, because we have a very popular magazine back in the day called OK Magazine, which was like a music/youth magazine back then. Okay. And Kiss was, almost in all the time in that magazine. But the cool thing was they also put in old pictures of the band. So they had posters in 1984, 85 with Kiss in makeup, even if the band wasn't in makeup at that time. So I remember it got like a poster in 1985 of the band, I think from the Unmasked era or something like that, 1980. And I put it up on my wall and stuff like that. And they had a lot of Kiss in that. So seeing Kiss in that OK magazine, that gave me like gave me an idea what the band looked like.
Okay.
For sure. But then I remember, now I'm thinking about it, I remember that I actually saw that this was some years later, but this was a confusing thing, because I remember seeing Creatures of the Night album, and then I saw the unmasked version of the Creature of the Night album. And I really didn't get it, I was reading Creatures of the Night, what the hell, Creature of the Night, that's the cool album with Kiss and Makeup, and this is what, you know, that was a confusing thing. I remember, you know, as a young kid, you know, and is this different? What the hell is this? You know, I remember that. But it was definitely, in that young age, we're talking 7, 8 years old, it was definitely the makeup and the image that was talking to me, you know. I mean, it was like seeing Spider-Man or Batman, but I understood that these guys were real people.
Right.
But they looked super cool, and they looked like they were taking out of Marvel Comics or something like that.
Yeah. Right. You know, speaking of music, you said that you know, the first album with makeup was a Destroyer. So did you go back in time in the catalog? Did you start getting, you know, the other albums at that age, or that came a little bit after?
That came after, because back then I was living, and I'm still living in the same city, which is a quite small city. And back then you couldn't Google things. So when I was 7, 8, 9 years old, I have no idea what albums came out.
Okay.
But in the back of this OK magazine, they sometimes had like a record club that you could buy records from. It's like a record club or something like that. You can buy records online. And sometimes I should actually have brought one of those magazines. I don't think I have it here. But they have like the whole back of the magazine was small album covers of Iron Maiden and Motley Crue and Kiss and everything. And there I was turning the magazine, and I saw all these albums, and I saw, okay, there's a Kiss album I don't know. There's a Kiss album I haven't seen before. But I didn't know what year they came out, or what this is the first album. This is the, you know, I didn't know that. So in that early age, I just bought the albums I could find, you know.
Yeah.
But the real, you know, buying Kiss albums didn't really start until a couple of years later, maybe. So I got the Animals album and the Destroyer album, and I was really happy with those. So I had them for a while, you know. So maybe I started to buy albums maybe in 86, 87. That's when I really started to buy the Kiss albums.
So you gave a good spin to those two albums, you know,
I did, you know, I did. So that was the whole problem growing up, actually, to find stuff, because I was living in a small city.
Right.
And sometimes I remember in like school holidays and stuff, we sometimes went to Gothenburg, which is the second city in Sweden, and it's in about an hour from here with a train. And we went there sometimes, and then there they have like bigger record stores and things, and I could find more stuff. Yeah, find more stuff. I could buy T-shirts and all kinds of stuff.
Nice.
So but in my city, I was quite isolated back in the 80s, actually.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I love that question about, you know, is it about the music or the image? Because, you know, I'm into a lot of different bands, not just Kiss. People think I'm just into Kiss. No, I'm into many different bands. But I don't have a need to go see them live, because their music speaks volumes. And I could do that at home. That's not the case with Kiss. You can't get the Kiss experience without seeing them in concert. So tell us about your first concert experience. What are your memories of that show?
My first concert was on the Crazy Nights tour in 1988. Because in 84, they came just when I discovered the band, and I wasn't aware of that they were coming. I actually missed the Asylum release. I wasn't really aware that they had a new album out called Asylum. I wasn't really aware of that, because at that point I was totally into Destroyer and all kinds of things, probably a lot of other things as well. So the first record that I bought when it came out was actually Crazy Nights album in 87. I remember we went from school after school, and, you know, I remember they released a single. I remember that. And I bought that, the 7-inch single, when that came out. And the guy in the record store told me that, in a couple of months, the whole album will come out, and that date. And I went after school and saw this cool album with the glass and everything. And I bought that. And then my first concert was 1988 in September. Kiss was on the European tour. And they did the most of rock shows in Donington and all that stuff. And they came to Sweden. And I went there with my mom, who I was begging, can we go see Kiss? Can we go see Kiss? And she went with me to my very first Kiss concert.
They played in Stockholm?
No, they played in Gothenburg. They played in Stockholm.
Gothenburg? Okay.
But Gothenburg is closer, so we went to Gothenburg to see the concert. And that was the first concert I saw with an international band. I had only seen a couple of Swedish concerts before, Swedish bands who played in my hometown. But now this was the first time with this big international band. And I got a really cool, that Kiss Gene Simmons shirt when he's holding up his bass with his makeup on and everything, and it says on the back, "It's a dirty job, but someone's got to do it." I got that. I got that T-shirt, and I was so proud, and I couldn't believe that I was at a Kiss concert. And then the memories from the concert are a little bit up and down, because there was so many things happening there. But I remember there was a lot of Kiss and also a lot of roadies who threw out guitar picks, and I couldn't get one, sadly. So I didn't get a guitar pick back then. But then I remember we were standing at some point of the show. We were standing on Gene's side, and I remember he was, throwing out guitar picks, and he was pointing at our where we were standing. I remember. And I remember the concert being extremely loud. I remember. Oh, yeah. I don't even think I had earplugs back then. I don't remember, but I don't think I had, because people didn't think about that stuff back then, So even if a 10-year-old kid went to a concert, I don't think I had earplugs. But I remember it was extremely loud. I remember, and it was unreal to see the band that you have only seen. I mean, I actually, to be honest, in '88, Exposed was released in '87. And I got that, I think, the same year. I got that in '88, I think. And then I remember in '88, I also got the Animalized live video, VHS, that came out. So I got that one. But otherwise, I hadn't seen much, footage of Kiss at all, So, just, seeing this band live was unreal. Here they are, in front of me. And I was a little disappointed, I remember, also, because Yngwie Malmsteen was about to opening. But he canceled. And what other band was opening? Kings of the Sun was opening. Okay. A band called Kings of the Sun. So I was a little disappointed, because at our ticket, they had like a marker and deleted, Yngwie Malmsteen from the ticket. Because I had, he was like a guitar god back then,
Of course, of course.
But yeah, he still is. But so I never saw him back then. But that was great seeing Kiss. I couldn't believe it, and it was. If I wasn't a fan back before that, I was totally into Kiss, after that concert, for sure.
Now, but the Crazy Nights tour got mixed reviews by Kiss fans. So the Crazy Nights show being your first concert, what was the concert like for you? If you could critique the concert or review the concert, what would you say?
It was top notch. And today, I'm very happy that I've seen Eric Carr live, and that I've seen that lineup live. Because today it's more exclusive of I've seen Kiss from in the Unmasked era than it is at least over here, and then have seen them with makeup, because now there's so many more makeup years than the Unmasked thing. But the tough years of being a Kiss fan in Sweden was the years after 1988, because the years after 1988, the interest for Kiss in Sweden was zero, pretty much.
Oh yeah,
that's why they never came here. That was the problem. If we're going to talk about that, because that's why there's a big gap between 1988 and 1996. I didn't see them because they didn't come. First the Hot in the Shade album was not a big album over here at all. They didn't get any attention, not much anyway. At that point, I remember we got cable TV. That was a big thing. Nowadays, cable TV, if you ask kids today, what the hell is cable TV? But that was a really that was a big thing back then, and we were really a little bit after, because I was living in a small city. So we got cable TV in 1989, I remember, and then I got MTV, of course, and Headbangers Ball and all that stuff. So I saw videos all the time. So that was a really cool thing. That was an eye opener at the time. So that I got access to all that stuff. But otherwise, Hot in the Shade, no one cares about Hot in the Shade in Sweden at the time. And then when Revenge came, was probably one of the biggest disappointments in my Kiss life. I saw an ad in Metal Hammer magazine that Kiss was coming to the UK in May. And I called a friend who was a little bit older than me and asked him, do you know if there's any Swedish dates? No, they're only going to play the UK.
Ouch.
And I knew, the 15-year-old me at the time knew that I can't go to England in 2 months' time. That's impossible, because there was no cheap flights back then. There was everything was so much harder to organize back then.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the biggest disappointments in my Kiss life, actually, that I couldn't go to that UK tour, or that Kiss never came to Sweden in 1992. And so that's why it took all the way to 96 until I actually saw the band again. So, yeah.
So then, just a quick one, just to recap on what you said before. Because of the gap, not being able to see the band, Alex, during those years. Did you check out on the band, or you were still following them? You were still a fan, or?
I was pretty much a bigger fan than ever.
Oh yeah,
around that revenge era. And what saved me actually, and I actually told them a number of times, was actually Strike Magazine and Nico.
Yeah, Nico
at the time.
Yeah.
Kiss Army International. That's what really saved my life in my teenage years, because I became a member of that magazine in Kiss Army International in '91, I think.
Okay.
And it came, magazines, I think it was like 4 magazines a year or something like that. And that's where you got the information, because Swedish media didn't do much about Kiss. So that's what you got the information about. And at that time, in the early 90s, I was actually dreaming about going to a Kiss convention. Because I was reading about the conventions you had in Canada, in US, and everywhere, and there was nothing like that in Sweden.
Right.
It was not even a tribute band in Sweden at that time. Nothing.
Right.
But in 1994, there was a English tribute band called Dress to Kiss, I think they were called at the time. They came to Sweden in 1994 and played, and me and a friend went to see them. And that was, at that time, that was like seeing Kiss.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe it. It was costumes, and there were fire, and there were blood, and there was smoking guitar, and the whole thing. That was unbelievable. And that was like the spring of '94.
Okay.
And, it was like seeing Kiss. For me, it was, I was standing there in the front, totally crazy. It's silly when you think about it now. But back then, I was, that was the best thing ever,
Of course, that was the only thing you had. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
But also I have to point out, a strong concert memory from that time was actually in 1992 when I saw Metallica. They played in Gothenburg on the Black Album. Okay. That was incredible. That was at that point. I mean, Kiss was cool in '88, but I was so young. But at this point, when I saw Metallica in '92, I was 15. And I remember the big bang they had in the beginning of Enter Sandman when they opened. Ding, ding,
oh my
ding,
God.
And
wow.
Boom, I remember that. It was like hitting you like here, And that doesn't, the more I think about it, that was a really, really cool concert, memory that I had back then, in 1992. So
well, but Metallica was huge, during those years. So that must have been a hell of a trip, man.
Amazing.
Yeah. Hey, Alex, so, let's touch on another important point of your fandom, which is, meeting some of the members of the band. So which members of the band have you met, and under which circumstances? Was it like casual? Was it more meets and greets? And any stories that you would like to share with us?
There's a lot of stories. The first time I met any member of the band was in '94. They did a convention tour in Europe. I think it was Gerhard Wimmer from Austria who actually organized that back in the day. And Peter did a convention tour. It was also cool because there was also North American dealers that was traveling with this convention tour. So that was the first time, because I got really hooked on our coin merchandise and the toys and things like that. We can talk about that later, but I got really hooked on that in the early 90s. But the problem was where to find it. You couldn't find anything of that in Sweden back in the day, and there was no internet. But anyway, I mean, we're not going to talk about that right now. But anyway, that convention tour was the first time I met Peter Criss.
Okay.
And I met Peter Criss, and I was the first member of the band that I met.
Okay.
And that was really, really cool. I got some stuff signed. I got sadly, I didn't get any good picture with him, but I got some stuff signed, and it was unreal to meet a member of the band.
Yeah, the original lineup. Yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah, and then the year after, they did the same thing with Ace.
Oh.
That was just before, actually. Yeah, it was just a couple of months before he joined the MTV Unplugged. I think it was June '95. They did a convention tour in Europe.
Nice.
And I met Ace. He was really, really drunk at the time and things like that, but I didn't care. It was Ace, But when you look back at it, it was terrible, to be honest. But I got some autographs, and I got a photo with Ace in '95, and I was like 18 years old, and I lived my dream. I couldn't be more happier. And we went to. I went actually with Peter Criss. I went actually to 2 other conventions. I went to Germany with my dad. I begged him, can we go? And he didn't want to let me go by myself because I was like 17 years old and I didn't have anyone to go with. So he said, okay, I'll travel with you to Germany. So we went to Germany to see Peter Criss in Dortmund, and then we went to Copenhagen because they didn't do any convention in Sweden for some strange reason. But
Okay.
I went to Copenhagen in Denmark, and the same thing with Ace. They didn't do Sweden, but they did Oslo in Norway, and they did Copenhagen also. So I went there
Okay.
with two of them. And no, I had a time of my life, you know, and I got to bought some really cool merchandise, and I met Ace, and I couldn't be more happier. So.
And where was the first time you met Gene and Paul?
First time I met Gene Simmons is a really cool story. It was actually on the Psycho Circus tour in Germany, in Frankfurt, Germany. We had actually found out that where Kiss was staying, and we were sneaking into the hotel. I think it was a lot easier in those days to sneak into hotels, and they had like a bar in the lobby, and we weren't sure. We heard that Kiss was staying at this hotel. We weren't really 100% sure if that was right or not, but we sneaked in, bought a super expensive Coke, and sat there in the bar, and we were sneaking in everywhere. You know, we felt like we were some kind of, you know, FBI guys or something like that. We were sitting there sneaking, you know, looking everywhere, and then we saw Gene Simmons sitting in the restaurant with a blonde woman that was not Shannon. There was some other one, but that's another story. And oh my God, Gene is sitting in there. Oh my God, I was shaking like this. And we know, you know, you don't walk up to someone sitting eating. Of course, you don't. So we're sitting there in a bar and said, okay, when he's walking out, we're gonna, you know, approach him. I'm actually, and we're gonna approach him. And sure, after a while, he walked out. And I was super nervous. So I went up to him and said, hey, Gene, can we take a picture? And he said the coolest thing that I wanted to hear at the time. Sure, it's my job.
No,
that's what he said. That's what he said.
He's the best, man. Oh
he's the best. He's the best. You know, I got goosebumps when I talk about this now. And we took a picture, and I have the picture on my wall right in front of me right now. So I'm looking at that picture now. And what was that? I was like 21 at the time.
Okay.
And we took pictures, and he was really nice. And he asked, you know, where you're from? We're from Sweden, because it was me and two friends, and or was it two or three? I think it was 4 people. We were me and 3 friends, and he was so cool. He was super cool, and he said, you know. And he said, "Oh, cool that you're from Sweden and everything. I got to go now." And we were the happiest guys in the world, you know. And
of course.
When I got home, you know, I made a copy, you know, that this photo and put up on my wall, and I couldn't believe it, you know, that this is Gene, you know. And I showed it to my friends, and oh my God, you met Gene Simmons, you know. But I forgot, because I actually met Paul Stanley. That's also a cool story. In 1996 at the reunion tour, I met Paul Stanley. This is actually really cool. They played in Oslo in '96. I mean, the Kiss Mania was it was chaos. I mean, the Swedish shows and the Scandinavian shows sold out in seconds. It was crazy, and there was no internet back then, so we were just standing in line or calling, and, you know, it was terrible. But I got tickets anyway, and we went to Oslo, and in Oslo there's no ice rink, so they put the fence all the way to the wall. So they have like a fence like this, and then there's the stage. So you can pretty much walk all the way up to the wall, and you can see the stage from behind.
Okay.
You can stand there if you like, you know. And so I went back there during the show, because in the front of the stage there was chaos, you know. They were throwing people over the fence, and there were guards, and they were totally crazy. And at some point during the show, I think it was maybe Ace's solo or maybe Peter's solo, I saw that on that side they have like almost like a tent where Gene, Ace, and Paul went down. You know, if Peter did his solo or something, or Gene did his bass solo, Paul and Ace went down there, and they took a break in that tent. Mm-hmm. And during, I think it was Gene's solo, or maybe Peter's drum solo or something like that, Paul went down there. All of a sudden he was walking out from the tent, and me and a couple of friends were standing there shouting to him, "Hey, Paul!" And he approached us.
No, during the show. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, during the show.
What a story.
In full fucking makeup and everything, you know. And I was like, you know, 19 years old, you know. Oh, and he was coming, God. And there were some security guards. They got really nervous, and Paul was just no. He's just shaking his head to the security. No worries, you know. And he come up to us at the fence and shaking our hands and stuff.
No
And
way.
Wow.
yeah. And that's an amazing story. It's so amazing that I couldn't really believe that it happened. But I had some guys with me, so we shared that moment. Because that was
my God.
that was an unreal moment. It was only lasted for like 10, 15 seconds or something like that. Because he just grabbed us and said, do you enjoy the show and things like that. And then he went back.
That's insane, man. That's insane.
It is an insane thing, So I remember that, and also remember I went in the same elevator as Ace Frehley when Ace came to Sweden in 2009 as a solo artist. We stayed at the same hotel in Malmö in the south of Sweden, and I checked in at the hotel, and I was kind of busy because I was running a little late because I was about to meet a friend, and I was approaching the elevator doors, and they were about to close the door, but I grabbed the door, and there was Ace and his fiance at the time, and they were standing there. So and I said, excuse me, is there any room for me? Yeah, sure. And I went in there, and I played super cool, and I didn't say anything. But then I thought about it because there was some floors up, so I thought about it. Well, no, Ace first asked me, what floor are you going to? And he pushed the push for my
the
floor.
button. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the button. And then I think, thought about it. I should, say something at least. So when I walked out, because I walked out before him, and I said, good luck with the show tonight. And he just looked at me. All right. And then I went out. And so that was a pretty cool thing. So that, and then of course I had those meet and greets and everything. Everyone has, and those meet and greets was so much better in the beginning than it was in the later years, because they had much more time. Because in 2008 I had a meet and greet when they came with the Live 35 tour to Sweden. I had a meet and greet in Stockholm, and back then there were 20 people having the meet and greet.
Wow.
And there was no lines or anything. There was like we were first lining up for the picture with the band, but when the picture was taking, they just had those bar tables, and Paul just stood with a bar table and and chatting with people. It was like like a what do you call it? It was like just chatting with people.
Yeah, they were hanging around there.
Hanging around.
To them.
Yeah. No rush at all. And we just, put our stuff on the table, and he signed it and everything. I think I got 5 Paul autographs and 5 Gene autographs at that meet and greet. There was no rush, nothing. There was no rush. He talked to me. Gene saw my tattoo. And things like that, and comment that and things like that. And there was no rush at all. Everybody got what he wanted. So. Yeah. And already a couple of years after, in 2010 on the Sonic Boom tour, everything was totally different, because then everybody had to line up, and it was more, it was totally different. So
I guess Alex, the question it's obvious, but we're going to ask it anyway. So who's your favorite member and why?
My favorite member is, I think, that's it all. It's actually a hard question, but I think it's Ace, actually.
Oh, really? I thought it was Gene.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
But I have the whole band here, so it just happened to be Gene down here.
Okay, it's Ace.
But I think it's Ace because he always wasn't like an outsider of the band, because there was always so much attention to Gene and Paul, and I became a big fan of Ace's soul album from '78. When I became, when I was a kid and started to listen to the soul albums, and I always liked that album a lot. And I always thought that, Ace was a cool guy. And, I met him in 1995, even if he was really drunk and in bad shape back then. But I've always been a big Ace Frehley fan.
Oh, nice.
Okay. And it was more fun to pay attention to Ace than Gene and Paul, because they got so much attention anyway.
Right.
So that's the way I felt.
Okay.
Alex, I'm going to go back to that '96 show when you met Paul backstage. Was that the spark that ignited your fuel to go see Kiss as many times as you possibly could? I saw them, I think, 77 times. You a little bit more than that. How many times have you seen them?
I've seen them 200 times.
200 times.
Wow.
And that was not really a goal, it was not even a goal to see them 100 times. It just happened to be that way. But if we jump into 2023, I got really nervous in Canada when they started to cancel shows. Because originally my 200 show was supposed to be Chicago.
Oh.
But then I planned to see Kiss in Dubai, and I actually went to Dubai because I couldn't cancel my ticket. So, and Kiss never played Dubai because that was just right after this Israel Palestinian thing
conflict.
happened. Yeah, and they didn't want to go to Dubai. So, and then they canceled those Canadian shows.
Yeah,
and it would have been a really anticlimax if the very last Kiss show would have been my 199 show. That would be a bummer, you know. I mean, that would be, you know. So I got really nervous when I was in Canada because the Ottawa show was canceled. I mean, we were out there at the arena and they canceled the show, and then they canceled Toronto, and I was there in Toronto, and they canceled one more, right? In Indianapolis with the, I don't remember. They canceled a show that I didn't attend. But anyway, they played in Chicago. So I saw Chicago, Baltimore, the first New York show, and then the second New York show. And the second New York show became my 200 show.
Oh, that's perfect.
And to answer your question, yes, that whole 96 experience, I would call it, was, I think, the big reason why I started to travel to see the band, for sure. And I just graduated from high school in 96. So that was both good and bad. The bad thing was that I didn't work much, you know, because I graduated from school. So I didn't have as much money as I would like in 96. But I did the best out of it. And also back then, it was really hard to find tickets. That was also one of the reasons.
Yeah.
So the Swedish concert, I have to buy tickets on the black market because I couldn't find anyone for the Swedish concerts. And then a friend of mine organized a bus trip to Czech Republic, because, you know, the Iron Curtain had just fallen down a few years earlier and things like that. So everything was open up in Eastern Europe. So we went to Czech Republic. They played 2 shows there in December of 96. And everything there back then was super, super cheap. It was silly cheap. I mean, and I think we paid like, I don't know. I mean, the concert tickets was like, I think it was $10 or something like that. I mean, it was insane. It was insane. If the concert ticket was like $30 maybe back then in Sweden or something like that, $30 or $40 or something. I think the concert tickets in Czech Republic were like $10 or something like that.
Right.
So that was, but as so in 96 I only saw 5 shows, and I was planned because I saw Stockholm, Gothenburg, Oslo, and the 2 in Czech Republic. No, I saw 6 shows because I saw the Donington Monsters of Rock.
Right.
I saw that in August. That was the first show in Europe. And then I was planning to go over to America during the summer of 96, but I couldn't really organize that because I was having a job because I was graduating from high school, and I had a job over the summer and I couldn't get away from the job. That was the problem, you know, because that was like the deal that you have to work the whole summer. And
you got to do something to pay everything, man.
That was the problem for me. If I'm not working, I don't get money to do this. But at the same time, I wanted, you know, have the time off. So it was like a tricky situation. But anyway, I saw some more shows when the tour came back to Europe in 97. I saw some more shows. Then I traveled around in Germany and saw some shows there at the Rock am Ring shows and all those shows in Germany, and I saw some more shows. So all in all, I was really happy. But of course, the 1996-97 tour was the reason, I think, for me to start to travel. And I like to travel, and then having like an excuse to travel to travel around and see Kiss.
But Alex, in 96, you saw 6 shows. So 194 to go. How many countries have you traveled to see the band?
Yeah, I've been counting that because someone asked me recently about that, and I think I've seen them in 28 countries, I think.
Wow.
Holy moly. Oh, my God.
And I've seen them in Japan, Australia, South America, North America, and Europe.
My God.
And so it's a big effort, and you know, it's a lot of planning. I'm lucky to working in a company that really allows me to take a lot of vacation off, because in Sweden we have 5 weeks of vacation, and my boss have you know been really nice over the years because they let me go and things like that,
but as you said, you know, I think this goes beyond Kiss, because you know, we met in Canada and we were chatting, I remember, and you actually benefit from going to see Kiss to get to know the country, to get to know the culture, the people. So it's not only that you're going to go there for the show and then you come back, right?
That's what most people think when I talk to people in my hometown and at my job or something. They don't think that I do anything else. But the good thing is that you go to places where you wouldn't have gone if it wasn't for Kiss.
Right.
And you got to experience the countries, you experience the culture, you experience a lot of cool things. So I've been to so many cool places. I mean, I've been to Russia twice because of Kiss.
Yeah.
And that's completely, you can't do that now, of course, because of the war with attacking Ukraine and stuff like that. I've seen Kiss in Ukraine. They actually played in Ukraine in 2019. So I was there in Kiev.
Wow.
And that's a war zone today. So it feels kind of weird, very strange to have been there. And I went when I was in Kiev and in Ukraine, I went to the, what's the power?
Chernobyl.
Chernobyl. Thank you. We went to the Chernobyl area. You can visit that, or at least in 2019, you could visit the Chernobyl area.
Wow.
So I've been there, and seen all the houses and everything, in that area. And I've been to a lot of places in Europe, and seen them in France and England, of course, all over England, all over Germany, all over Scandinavia. I've seen them in, I've been to Brazil. I saw them in Brazil. I have some friends over there, and I've seen them there. And I went to Japan in 2013. Maybe that was one of the coolest trips ever. I mean, you always dreamed about going to Japan because you've seen that, Tokyo 77, videos and stuff. And all the
Budokan stuff.
Yeah, Budokan stuff, and all the records and Japanese records and stuff like that. And finally be able to see them there.
When did you go to Japan? Which year was that?
2013. 13.
Okay.
So that was the monster tour, the Spider. They used the Spider stage in Japan.
Okay.
And that was actually the last time they played Budokan. Was actually on that tour. So they played the 2 nights at Budokan. So we saw 2 nights at Budokan, and we saw actually Osaka as well.
Osaka, yeah, that's true. Okay.
And the second night at Budokan was my birthday.
Nice.
And I actually got in touch with the doc, and he fixed a meet and greet for me, for free because it was my birthday. And
what a best way, man!
Yeah,
oh my God, that's awesome.
And I bought a Japanese flag. So having a Japanese flag on a picture, because I thought it was, when you see this, you will you have to understand that this is Japan. So I brought the Japanese flag with me, and I have it on a picture with the band. So yeah, it was a cool thing,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
The cool thing about traveling to different countries is obviously, being exposed to different cultures. But I want to know, what was the Kiss culture like? What were Kiss fans like in these different countries? Would you say that they're pretty much all the same? Or is there sort of like a level of fandom that is second to none in some of these countries?
Yeah. I mean, now it's going to be funny, but the South American people are crazy.
I believe
it. I always tell people, because people want to know how's the South American people. They're really nice people. I love them. They're great, but they're like South European people on speed. I always say that, they're totally crazy, but I love it, But yeah, they're totally crazy. They have a lot of emotions, They don't mean anything bad about being that crazy. They're just the way they are.
Yeah.
The fans in Japan are a little different, They're kind of reserved in a way, but they're also very, very crazy in their own way. And they're very sort of, they're very, very into the band, and they're very enthusiastic, and they're very happy that the band are coming to Japan. They're like proud of, they're coming to our country. And I remember, there's not many people in Japan who have tattoos. It's not very common in Japan. I think it's only like the mob or something that have tattoos in Japan. And when they saw my tattoos, they got really, they thought it was really cool and everything like this, And I remember that, they were very impressed by my tattoos. And I remember it was like a woman having the Kiss Army sign that I have on my arm here. She had it on her shirt, and she was standing pointing at me. Oh, you have that I have on my shirt, And of course, the language barrier is a little different too. In Japan, most people don't speak English. but they try. They really want to help you with everything. So that's really nice. They're not rude at all. They want to help you to, as much as they can. But of course, there's a language barrier. It was really cool to go to Australia. That was really cool. I mean, you've grown up also with the, Sydney 1980 and the mania that was in Australia on the Unmasked tour. So that was really cool. We went to that place, when they stand on the balcony in Sydney, greeting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there was. It's like City Hall, I think, in Sydney. We went to that spot, so we were standing there looking up at the balcony. Okay, so
nice.
This is where Kiss. This is what Kiss was staying, in 1980 and things like that. So
love it.
And I would love to go back to Australia, but it's so far away. That's the problem, It's so far away. But that was also a great thing, So. And the European people are, they're kind of crazy too. But I think maybe the audience in America could be a little boring sometimes because they have their seats. That's not the same thing in North America. In Europe or in South America or in Japan they have seats too, but not in Europe and not in South America. There's more passion. People have to stand in line and wait.
You're
in a
jumping
line.
up. You're standing.
Exactly. You have to wait a long time outside the arena to get up in the front, and people are almost camping outside the arena sometimes in Europe to get there in the front. In America, people are a little bit more lazy when it comes to concert, and things like that. That's my experience of the American concert, American fans. But yeah,
what are your thoughts about fan reaction at the last 2 New York shows?
Very mixed.
Yeah.
I have mixed reactions. I've been talking a lot to people about this. They could have done it so much better than what they did, because the very last show was too much like a show, just a normal, same. And it felt like I felt like Paul, just wanted to get off the stage. He just wanted to get rid of this, And they could have celebrated the past a lot more than what they did. That's the way I feel about it. They should have brought up, images. Even if Ace and Peter isn't there, they should have brought up images of Ace and Peter, Eric Carr, Bruce, Mark, Vinny, everybody, and said, thank you for being a part of the Kiss world for this 50 years. They should have celebrated the past a lot more than what they did.
I also felt that I know I didn't feel the energy from the crowd at those shows. Do you feel the same?
Yeah. I think so. I mean, I was into it as hell, as much as I could. The first night, actually, I was way up there somewhere, so that was a little difficult because I was way, way, way up. But the second night, I had a really good spot. I was on the floor, like at the front of house, pretty much where the mixing stuff is. So there I was. But it was a little, the audience was a little lazy, and I think this interviews it was cool with Desmond Child and everything and the kids and all that. But the best thing would have been to show, I think, like a 30-minute movie about the Kiss this 50 years with interview clips, live clips, everything, like a 30-minute documentary or something.
Yeah.
That would be much, much cooler, I think, than the interview stuff.
Yeah.
But that's the way I see about it. But yeah. There's always mixed emotions about everything, and the avatar things. I don't know. It is a good question how it's going to be.
So you being in Sweden, Alex, have you seen the Voyage thing there, the ABBA thing?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
They're doing it in London. That's in London. So I was actually in London 2022.
Okay.
Me and my sister went to London to see the ABBA. It was only a couple of months after they opened the ABBA Voyage.
And did you like it?
It's absolutely amazing. When you're seeing that ABBA thing, you're sitting there and thinking, how the hell did they do this?
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah, that's the way I feel about it. So I think Kiss can be pretty cool. And as we all know, Kiss is a Swedish brand now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even if,
you're so proud. Look at you. You're so proud.
I am. Even if a lot of Americans are pissed off about it, it's pretty funny that Kiss is a Swedish brand. And I joked about a friend and said we should print shirts that said, Kiss, a Swedish brand since 2024 or something on the shirts, just to piss people off, But no, but I think to talk a little bit about that, I think that's the best thing that could happen if they want to do this avatar things. I think the ABBA people are the best people to do this because they're really successful and they know what they're doing. So I think that this avatar thing could be really good. The problem is, if you ask me personally, I don't want to see Tommy and Eric. I want to see Ace and Peter if they're going to do the avatar thing.
Right.
I would like to have the Alive 2 show or something like that. That's what I want to see as an avatar thing. Not Tommy and Eric, and not this superhero Kiss with wings on Gene and things like that. I don't want to see that. I don't think we're gonna. I think this thing with Gene and the wings and everything. I think that was just like a pre-thing that they showed because I'm not sure if that's. I don't know. No one really knows anything about it.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Look, Alex, we're gonna go fast on this one because there's so much more interesting stuff to talk about. No, this is beautiful.
This is fantastic.
Let's go fast on this one, and then we're gonna jump into collecting, which is Pask's favorite subject, and of course yours. But let's play a little bit of a ping pong here. So what's your most and least favorite album?
My favorite album is Destroyer, I have to say, because of the thing when I was a kid. Least favorite album is probably Cannibal of Souls, because it came in a total wrong time when all the focus was on the Makeup Kiss, and who cared about that album when it came out? And
that's right. Wrong timing.
Totally.
Definitely. What about song? Most favorite and least favorite song?
Most favorite song, Let Me Know.
Let Me Know. Oh, nice.
Yeah. And the last favorite song is probably Boomerang or something like that from the Hot and Shade album.
Okay. What about lineups?
My favorite lineup, I think it's going to be a surprise, but my favorite lineup is actually Gene, Paul, Ace, and Eric. That's my favorite. That's the favorite lineup. And I was lucky enough to see them because I was in Australia in 2001 and I saw that complete tour with Eric and Ace.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my favorite lineup.
So you were happy when the Of the Soundboard was released for that?
That was really cool.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. And least favorite lineup?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Least favorite lineup. That's really hard to say. Maybe with Mark St. John, but that was only a short time because I thought he felt kind of weird in the band, to be honest.
Okay,
but I have to say that.
Out of the 200 shows, my friend, can you pick your favorite concert, and if there was one, your least favorite concert?
My least favorite concert is pretty easy actually, because that was Sweden Rock Festival in 2013. Paul's voice was terrible at the time, and he had enormous problems with his voice during that show. And you felt sorry for the guy because he wasn't there, And then I saw Kiss a few days later, and the voice was better. But at that show in 2013, it was terrible. So that's my worst concert.
And the best you've seen?
The best is really, really hard. But maybe I have to say Stockholm 1996.
Okay.
The whole vibe there was electric. I mean,
it's interesting you mentioned that because when you I remember when the first time I saw Second Coming, the video.
Yeah.
You can still feel the energy through the screen of the shows in Sweden, and they kind of dedicate a whole bunch of minutes there during the documentary to talk about Sweden. So that must have been so special, man.
When they dropped the curtain, they dropped the curtain so everybody could see the logo. They did that, before Kiss was playing, and then they dropped the curtain when Kiss started. But when the first time they dropped the curtain, so you could see the logo and everything, people were screaming like hell. And the good thing back then was there was no cell phones. Yeah. Nowadays, everybody's standing like this.
Right.
But there wasn't that was not the thing back then. Everybody was standing like this, and they were sweaty, and they were, into it, So that and the whole vibe, I remember the whole media and everything around that concert was crazy. They had, for like a whole week in Sweden. There were reports every day about the Kiss concerts, about the tickets on the black market, about Kiss parties. Kiss was everywhere during that time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the last one, if you have your most favorite era and your least favorite era, which kind of, maybe it's linked to the lineup. I don't know, but if there's any.
If someone asks me in 2 weeks from now, I will probably say something different. But right now, it feels like the favorite era would probably be Creature of the Night, I think.
Okay.
I just love that era, with the tank and everything, and the I Love It Loud video, and I grew up with that and things like that. So, and my least favorite era, it is hard.
But you cannot say Animalize, because that's when you jumped into the band. So
exactly. That's what I did. So, but my least favorite era, I would say that it still is in that sort of Cannibal of Souls era, because the Kiss was really lost, I think, at the time, and didn't know really what to do. So, I would say that.
There you go.
Yeah. So, hey, listen, like Claudio said before, man, my favorite subject, collecting. Yeah. So I want to learn a little bit more about you and what kind of collector you are, because, there are different types of collectors out there. I, for example, collect everything, but sometimes I'm more into posters, sometimes more into action figures. And now I'm just going crazy over vinyl. So what kind of collector are you?
I'm also that kind of person who wants everything, but sometimes that's kind of impossible. So I started to collect in, I would say, late 80s. And when you start to collect, you want all the albums. That's the thing I started with. But then quite early on, I've always been a collector, I have to say that. When I was a kid, I collected, hockey cards, and I collected, I was actually at some point during the 80s, I found out some addresses to hockey teams and soccer teams, and I wrote to them. I'm a fan. Can you send me some signed photos and things like that? And they send me some stuff. And I was doing that for a couple of years, here and there. And I think I have like an album somewhere with all those signed things. And I'm always been a collector, and I'm always that kind of guy who collects stuff. I collected, all kinds of things. I collected comic books at some point when I was a kid, and all kinds of things. But in the late 80s, I started to collect Kiss. And in the early 90s, I discovered all the old coin merchandise, as we say today.
Okay.
The dolls, the lunch boxes, the puzzles, all that kind of stuff. And I got really into that, actually. But it was hard back then because there was no internet. And as I said before, there was not much stuff available in Sweden at all. So that took a while until that Peter Criss convention and Ace Frehley convention. And finally I could get hold of some stuff from North American dealers. But that was I was always fascinated, because that was the cool thing with those the merchandise and the toys, was that there was so big difference because of the merchandise and the toys. There was such a big difference between Kiss and other bands, because all that bands had, if you were into Iron Maiden or you were into AC/DC or whatever, Motley Crue or whatever, all the bands had records, and all the bands had posters, and they had T-shirts. But here you had Kiss dolls, and you had like lunch boxes, and you had sleeping bags, and you have so many other cool things. So in the 90s, I got really hooked on those kind of things, which I'm glad about today, because the prices were totally different back then than what it is today. It's today. So a lot of those things that I have today, the old merchandise I bought, back in the 90s, where the prices were totally different.
Mind you, it looks like you also collect memories.
Oh yeah,
is that accurate?
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, for sure. That's accurate, and a lot of memories. Pictures with me and the band and everything, and that's really nice. I have like a full room here with a lot of memories. And I have a lot of stuff on the wall, and some signed stuff, and a lot of memories for sure. That's one thing I collect, and I started to collect a lot of records as well. But along the way, I actually sold a lot of records, because I had so many records just standing there, and I saw myself not first a record collector, but more of a merchandise collector.
Okay.
So I remember I had all those old bootlegs, you know, and Destroys Anaheim, Sneak Attack, Takes Tokyo, all those old bootlegs, which are really cool. But I sold them along the line and put more into the merchandise collecting. And one subject that I think is really cool to collect is T-shirts.
Yeah,
that's one of my special things because it's such an original merchandise. It doesn't matter if you're a super band like Kiss or if you're a punk rock band. Everybody has T-shirts.
Yeah, true.
So I have some really cool ones, you know, from the 70s, you know, from the Rock and Roll Over tour and Dynasty tour and things like that. And then of course a lot of new ones from the last but from the last 30 years or whatever. And yeah, I like T-shirts. T-shirts is a funny thing to collect. And also along the line, I got into original stage worn items.
Wow.
Which is really it's a really top thing to collect, you know. And it's back then when I started to collect it, it was not really there was no really market for it because this was before the Butterfields auction because the Butterfields auction was in 2000, and I got my first stage worn item in 1997, and that was actually Bruce Kulick's zebra shirt from the Animalize tour.
Oh, nice.
And that zebra shirt was given to a fan in America, and this fan in America was given to a fan in America by Bruce, and this fan in America sold it to a guy in Sweden, and I got hold of it from this guy who got tired of it. So, and that was the first one, and that was an unreal feeling, because I remember I was still living with my parents at the time, and I remember sitting in my room having a picture of Bruce wearing this, you know, a shirt. And I was sitting holding the shirt. I had it, you know, and I couldn't believe it, you know. Wow. This is the shirt that's on the picture.
No, so it begs the question because, you know, I lost track how many Kiss items I own, but for me, my 3 prized possessions, the Gene signed bass from Kiss Cruise 4, the Vault, and a Paul Stanley painting. So what would you say are your most prized possessions?
It's a good question. I you know, growing up, I was watching the Animalize live video so many times. I mean, I've probably seen that video 100 times or something, or hundreds of times. I actually have the leather vest that Gene is wearing at that concert.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
Yeah, I have that leather vest that Gene is wearing at that concert. So that's a cool thing. Another thing that's actually cool, it's actually I think the pinball machine, the old pinball machine.
I wish
I got hold of that quite early actually, and as I said, you know, the prices was totally different back then. I bought my pinball machine in 1995 from a guy in the south of Sweden. I think I paid $400 or $500.
Oh, wow!
And it was in working condition. And the guy who sold it thought did a good deal. You know, he was happy with the deal. So I went down there and picked it up in the south of Sweden, and So that's a really cool thing. And then what else? I also have a Gene Simmons stage played bass that actually a friend of mine bought on the Sonic Boom tour, and then he didn't. Yeah, he got rid of it, and I bought it from him years later. So that's a stage play, the Gene Simmons bass. So that's a pretty cool one. But as I said, you know, if you ask me in 2 weeks from now, I will probably say something else because there's so many different things. But you know, then all the toys is always cool. You know, I love the lunchbox and the Mega dolls and things like that. I mean, those really nice items as well. You know, so. It's not always about the most expensive things it's just the feeling about the things, you know. It doesn't have to be what you paid, you know, the most for. It could be something else.
Of course.
Oh no, for me I walk into that in my Kiss room and I look around. It's like it's memories for me. I collect memories.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
For sure.
That's what it is. You know, it's funny, Alex, because you know this question that you just answered. It's the perfect pathway for the next one. So with all the stuff that you've been collecting over the years, there was one significant milestone in your life back in 2004 when you started to do your exhibitions in Sweden and Norway. So we want to know about that. So tell us about that, please.
Yes. Absolutely. I came to a point in my collecting where I thought about, here I'm sitting now with all the cool items. And I remember when my friends got home to me and things like that, they got really excited over the items. Oh my God, I can't believe you have this, blah, blah, blah. And I said to myself, maybe I should do something and show my items to the public and see what happens. I got in touch with, actually the first time I did it was actually at the Kiss Expo, Kiss Convention in 2004 with Bill Aucoin as a guest.
Oh,
and I just had a display for a day. It was just like in a club or a concert hall, and they had that exhibition, and we only did that exhibition for a day, and that was my first time. It was like you see the old Kiss conventions from the 90s where you have like things set up and you have like barriers and you had the stuff there. And I did an exhibition like that, and it was mostly Aucoin merchandise and things like that. And the cool thing was that Bill was there. Wow. And at some point, because my friends organized the whole thing, and at some point during the day, Bill came to me and say, "Hey, you have such a cool things. Can I look at some of the stuff?" Of course. So we were walking in there, and Bill was walking with me, and we were talking about all the merchandise. And I wish someone. I actually had a video camera back then with me, but I never filmed this because I was so surprised that Bill's approached me and I want to talk about the merchandise. I have some pictures though, because we took some pictures because I asked Bill, "What's your favorite item?" And he said, "I always loved the record player." So we took up the record player, and he's holding the record player, and we took a picture together. So I have that with Bill and the record player.
Nice.
So that was the first time I showed my items, my collection to the public. But it was still Kiss fans because it was a Kiss Expo.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, the year after, in 2005, a guy I knew from my city who was involved in a local art gallery or exhibition hall approached me and said, we have like a month in August where we don't have anything planned, August, September. Do you want to display some of your stuff? I know you have some Kiss stuff. It doesn't have to be that big or anything.
Some Kiss stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said, it doesn't have to be that big, because the exhibition hall wasn't that super big. But he said, we can put up some of your stuff on the wall, some frames and things. And we have some glass display cases we can use and just, put some stuff in. Sure, we do that. The funny thing is that those people running this exhibition hall was on a very local level. And they were surprised because all of a sudden when this came out, there were people calling from all over Sweden and asking them for opening hours and stuff like that. And they were completely shocked because this exhibition hall was run by older people and they were not really into Kiss at all.
How many exhibitions have you done?
I've done about maybe, I would say 30 exhibitions.
Wow. Oh, wow.
But I've been mostly over Sweden, and I've been in Norway too. But in Sweden, it works like all different parts of Sweden have like its own big museum. That's how it works in Sweden. So I've been around all over Sweden with the exhibition, and I still have some places I haven't been to. But I've been all over Sweden with my exhibition and showing it to the public. And I think I'm the only one in the world who does like that, like a private collector that shows his collection to the public like that.
Let me ask you, so the stuff that you showcase, is the stuff that you have at your home, or you have it in a warehouse?
I have it in a warehouse. I have a warehouse of 75 square meters where I store all the stuff. But I have a lot of stuff back home as well. So, but it's a warehouse. It's like my bat cave or something like that. It's well protected. But I have everything there. So wow. and I do exhibitions from time to time, and that's also a common question. How do you how can you take out the stuff, and aren't you afraid that something's going to happen with the things and all? But I'm doing everything in museums and stuff, and they have a lot of protections, and they have alarm systems, and I display everything in displays cases and with glass and things like that. So, and nothing, knock on woods, nothing have happened with the stuff. So but it's a lot of fun because you make people happy, and if the visitors and the fans are happy, then I'm happy. So that's the way it works, So. But then, of course, the COVID thing, it destroyed everything. So It's been really difficult to come back to this now. Now I'm going to have, this summer, I'm actually going to have an exhibition in my hometown at the local museum because I haven't been there before, actually, because So I'm going to have a exhibition at my local in my hometown at the local museum. So that's going to be really cool.
Nice.
So that opens in early on June 6th. It opens and will open during the summer.
Beautiful.
That's incredible. As a Kiss fan, you've done so much, and there's even more. You're part of the Destroyer Alive podcast, and that's since 2014. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, we started in 2014. I was like Ace Frehley. I was the last member to join because two of my friends started the podcast. So Nils and Magnus started the podcast, and then I became the third member of it. And so we started in 2014, and we've done about close to 200 episodes. Okay. We try to do one episode a month about that. Sometimes it gets maybe every second week, but sometimes it takes a little bit longer, depending on what happens. But we have a podcast, and we sometimes have guests, and sometimes we don't have guests. We just talk about different things, different albums, and different stuff. And it's really cool. We've been the band. The tricky thing is though to find people that want to be a part of the podcast, because we find some really cool people, but some people said no. You
mean as a guest?
Yeah, as a guest. We found some really really cool guests. Kiss connected people in Sweden and people that used to work with the band in Sweden and things like that, and they didn't want to be a part of the podcast. Okay. So that's a little sad. So that happens sometimes. But we found some really cool guests. I remember an old episode we had Dennis Wallach. We had him as a guest, and we had I think we had a relative to Sean Delaney. I think it was Sean Delaney's niece or something like that. I don't really remember, but we had her in an old episode, and we have a lot of Swedish people that have Kiss connections, and people that have seen the band in early on and things like that. And we found a lot of people. I think we actually did a special Eric Carr episode when it was 25 years since Eric passed away. No, it was 30 years since Eric passed away. In 2021, I actually found Eric's old drum tech from the Hot in Shade tour. I don't really remember his name now, but we found him anyway, and we had him on the show. And there's a lot of things going on.
And where can people find this podcast?
It's actually on YouTube, so you can we have just sorted out there a little bit, because we have some episodes that are totally in English, because most of the time we speak Norwegian and Swedish. And by the way, we understand Norwegian, and the Norwegians understand Swedish, so it's a similar language. So we speak in Norwegian, and Nils is from Norway, so he speaks Norwegian, and me and Magnus speak Swedish. But we also have a whole bunch of episodes on they're totally in English, and we sorted them out on our YouTube channel, so you can see them there.
So that's under the name of Destroyer Alive podcast?
Yes, that's how Destroyer Alive. Yes, Destroyer Alive.
Nice.
Yeah.
And Alex, this is so much fun, let me tell you. So we could be going on forever, man, with you. So thank you again for your time. So one final question before we close the curtain on the show. So what does Kiss mean to you? And how will you keep the flame alive now that the band is not touring anymore?
Yeah, that's a good question. Kiss means everything to me. I'm 47 in this year, and I started 40 years ago. It was 84, and now it's 2024. So they've been with me for 40 years, and that was my whole identity when I went to school. Was Kiss. We did we dressed up to like Kiss and did shows for our parents and things like that, and we did Kiss was everywhere when I was a kid, and to this day, when people approach me, I'm a kind of famous guy in my city. Everybody knows who I am, and I'm also involved in a local radio show. We do a metal hard rock radio show. I'm also a part of that, so I'm a kind of famous guy in my city, and all the time when people approach me, the first time they say is Kiss,
right?
Kiss. That, and sometimes it's my own fault, but sometimes people, there are other things I'm interested as well. It's not just Kiss, but it's Kiss all the time. When people approach me and talk to me, it's Kiss, and that's it, But I'm also a big Star Wars fan. I love Star Wars, and I also collect, memories of meeting Star Wars actors. So I met a lot of Star Wars actors over the years, like Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill, and the list goes on. I met a lot of Star Wars actors, and I got signed photos and things like that. So that's also a thing that I collect. And I'm also a toy collector. I collect some Star Wars toys, but not on a super high level. I don't need everything in mint condition and things, but I just think it's fun to have toys that I had when I grew up, and most of the toys are not there anymore, so I just buy them as an adult, and it's a lot of fun. And I collect Masters of the Universe because He-Man was a super cool guy when I was a kid and things like that. So I'm into that as well. So it's not just Kiss. I have other interests as well, but people approach me all the time, and the first thing they say is Kiss.
You're the Kiss guy,
and I'm the Kiss guy.
And I guess you're gonna keep the flame alive by doing your exhibitions and maybe I don't know if traveling still, even if the band is not playing live.
Yeah, and I think people have been asking me in the last 6 months now or whatever it is, that how does it feel when Kiss stopped playing? Start touring. There's no Kiss anymore. But I always say that I'm fine with it, because things have to stop at some point anyway. And you have to be realistic, because the guys are really old. I mean, Gene Simmons are 2 years older than my dad, and I can't see my dad up on stage in monster boots.
Yeah.
So I mean, you have to be realistic about it, how old these guys are. And so I don't have a big problem with that Kiss is retiring. I don't, because sometimes they have to stop. And now it has, stopped. So, but the flame is going to continue to be there, and I think maybe the interest for my exhibition will be even bigger now, because now there's no active band. So the things we have is the memories and the merchandise and all those things.
That's true.
And it's going to be really exciting and see what Pop House, that's the company now in Sweden that owns Kiss, what they're going to do when it comes to merchandise, Kiss projects. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Alex, I got to tell you, it was such a pleasure to meet you in person. Such a pleasure to have you on the show, because, seeing you in person, there's no way we could have covered all of this about your fandom. There's so much to cover, so much to know. And Claudia wasn't kidding. We could go on for a few more hours talking about your fandom, and we still wouldn't cover everything, because there's so much about you. We're really the epitome of the Kiss fan. And I said it before, Kiss fans have a certain celebrity because of the band. And you are definitely a Kiss fan celebrity. And again, such a pleasure to have on our show. I'm looking forward to our listeners listening to this and getting to know you better and learning more about your fandom, and hopefully have you back on the show, because there's so much more to talk about.
Yeah, I would love to be back, and thank you for having me. Great.
It was so fantastic, man. I have to second, what Paz was just saying. And again, this goes full circle, because the first question that Paz, asked you, it's, Kiss has given us such an amazing opportunity to meet people like you. And, it's, I cannot believe it, man. So you're a lovely guy, and it goes even beyond being a Kiss fan, just a beautiful person, and we're so happy to have had the chance to have you. And look, we can't wait to see you again, man. I don't know when that's going to be or where, but, we would love to see you again.
Thank you. I would love to be on the show again. So yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thanks again, Alex.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To the Kiss Army, we hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas, please send them to talktome@kissarmynationpodcast.com. Till the next time, remember, never stop rocking. Take care, everyone. If you enjoyed this episode, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and X. You can watch us on YouTube or listen to us on Podomatic, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. This is about you, so please like and subscribe to support the amazing guests we have on the show. See you soon, Kiss Army.